The Flashpoint 2 finals are almost upon us, and we have some very exciting Counter-Strike for you guys. Virtus.pro, the unlikely dark horse coming through the winner's bracket of this tournament. I know that doesn't really resonate with dark horse, but not many people would have picked them to be there in that winner's bracket position before our tournament began. And they will be heading up against OG, a team that has loved the loser's bracket so far in this tournament. Before we talk about their Flashpoint 2 runs, though, let's go in for some history on the tournament legacies of these teams with this roster. Thorin, how has OG been doing this year? How have they done since they formed this group of players?
Well, if you remember, the key thing is they only formed, it was almost not that long ago, a year ago, basically, that we had this lineup. I think they celebrated the birthday a few days ago. So one of the issues is they started last year on LAN, and it started so poorly because they went to CS Summit, which wasn't one of the competitive ones like the RMR this year. It was basically like a joke tournament, and they lost in the semi-finals to Mousesports without Woxic, who was considered their best player at the time. So that already began the LAN journey a little bit ominously, and then they basically resurrected themselves at the Blast spring premiere, the offline portion where they were able to beat EG twice. We saw some of the storyline about Alexi B's calling come to life. But then we went online, and unfortunately, despite the fact being such a new team, you'd hope they'd really take to online play and not be missing the lands. They were pretty poor generally. Like, it wasn't until actually the summer in that RMR that I referred to, another CS Summit event, that they got the third place. They got into some shape at that point in time. Then they had the one where they made the final of IEM New York against a FaZe clan that was basically dead man walking because Nico had already gone out the door behind the scenes. They managed to lose that final, which also shows, by the way, another classic theme for OG, which is win or lose, they always have these 3-map epic back and forth wars. The problem is they win some of them to get somewhat deep in the tournament, but they always lose on one of them in like kind of the way that Fnatic lost there, where that first map, it just leaves you feeling sick to your stomach because it's like, I lost that as much as the other team took it from me. So the trouble for OG is they've shown these flashes and even runs of looking very, very good, but they've never looked like they had what it took to be a champion. And so that's why, to me, this storyline that they're playing the team that they're going to play in the finals, the only one that lost, they're the only team to have beaten the team that they're playing in the final, can give you an extra psychological aspect. The fact that they've done these 2 lower bracket runs, like, in theory, if they're ever going to win, it's surely going to be now. If not, then my joke would be blow the whole roster up. It's a fucking failed project. No, whatever. We'll wait for the game first.
All right, that went from 0 to 60 really fast there. Maui, tell us a tale of Virtus.pro, because I know you were in love with these guys as we started this tournament. Did you pick them to win before we even started?
Yes. Yeah, I did.
Okay, so you've got some big confidence. Now, why is that?
Yeah.
Because they've been playing in all these CIS events this whole year. Why would you pick them in this bracket when we have OG, Big, Fnatic, these top teams competing in Flashpoint 2?
I think for a couple of reasons. I think one is that people really underrate how tactically sound this team is and how good they are at breaking down mid-round situations. Like, when you watch them on Train yesterday against Fnatic, they broke down Fnatic so many times. 2v4s, 3v3s. They were coming out on top constantly, and that's what they've been doing to CIS competition. They can play the aggressive Russian style, but they also can bring the game down to a slow crawl where they're able to outthink their opponents, outgame them, and outtrade them, outclutch them in a way that I think that a lot of people weren't ready for. And I think that their style also involves so much misdirection, because you think that when you watch a CIS team, it's going to be a simple hit. Okay, they're just rushing a spot. But actually, Virtus.pro throw a lot of fakes into their game. They really catch you off guard a lot of the time. And the individuals have so much talent on this roster. I can't stop gushing about Yakindar, but really every single player top to bottom here is a stud, except Sanji, but he knows that, and James knows that too. That's why he makes him buy every off.
He's a pistol god.
Yeah, he is a pistol god. I think he has the best pistol rating at this tournament. So his first bullet accuracy is actually nuts. So when you watch Sanji, you think this guy is amazing. Why doesn't he get AKs more? But then you watch him spray with an AK, and you're not really confused anymore.
Also, every time you think that he's just done completely and you forget about him, he will always have a bullshit halfway. He just gets like 3 or 4 rounds. Like, I'm trying to think who he did against. So maybe it was against Big. I think there was a couple of times against Big where he just almost turned the game for them.
Yeah. Sanji is against Mad Lions. Sanji was the reason they brought it to overtime. Actually, on 14-15, he got a 4K with 10 health. So like he can have his moments too. As much as I'm just kidding around with him, just because James does make him be his dog at times. It's a little rough for Sanji out there, but he does have his shining moments, and he does deserve a lot of credit on this roster. Yeah.
I thought you were going to go with that there. I thought you were setting it up.
We already talked about how he's like a mule in an MMO game. He's like that low level character that just stores your gear for you if you're James. Just he's there to support the star players. You know, every team needs a guy who's willing to make the sacrifice, hold on to the pistol, and allow the stars to shine, as it were. All right, we've talked about how these teams have been historically this year, but specifically, let's take a look at how they got here in Flashpoint 2. Because interestingly, they were in the same group, our Tower of Babel group that we started here in this tournament with. And we said, this is the group of death. This is definitely the hardest group we have. And speaking of which, Cloud9 surely must look in a better light now because they lost in this group to the two eventual finalists. Kind of a joke at the time. Doesn't look like so much of a joke now, does it?
I literally had a tweet the moment they were eliminated that was like this. I basically said, no, I didn't think these teams were going to be in the final. I said, like, when these teams end up being the third and fifth best teams in the tournament, you will look back on that Cloud9 result in a different light. And everyone at the time didn't do what they're all going to lie and claim now, Maui, which is, well, of course, we all just thought that was his first tournament and they got a lot better since. They all just said, no, but you're overrating OG and Virtus.pro. Were we? Were we really? No, I think the problem is, basically, it's only actually the result of, it's the fact that they couldn't win a map is what was bad for Cloud9 here. I think if they'd have even taken any of these series to a third map, shown us a little bit more, gotten on the board in that sense, I think people would have given them some credit. The problem is, people probably thought, well, who cares if you win 2-0, but it's really close, because a win's a win, and, you know, if they don't force you into a pressure situation, normally you think, who cares, as long as you get to 16. But I think actually this really were the seeds of what we saw in the later tournaments elsewhere that Cloud9 has played, where they've had some very respectable results. And as we're kind of bringing it back to here, it ends up that the two teams they were playing, you couldn't have known it on day one, were actually low-key the best teams in Flashpoint 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of that, we did get that matchup in our group finals. It was a narrow 2-1 victory in favor of OG coming out of the losers bracket. But it's important to note that, you know, those teams had already qualified for the playoffs, so they may not have been giving it their all heading into that winner's final match. They were secure. There wasn't really any risk of elimination. They weren't going to head into any kind of loser's bracket after that. And what happened in the meantime, because remember also, we had a week off after we played those games for these teams to prepare. And that's where we started our playoff bracket. And it was in this playoff bracket that we saw, weirdly, a very similar story unfold. And that story goes like this. Virtus.pro makes it through the winner's bracket, just like they did in our Tower of Babel group. Now, we see an unlikely upset. OG lost to Gen G in their group. They lose to MIBR in the first round here of the upper bracket, sending them into the loser's bracket and having to play all the way through back into the grand finals. Now, if the story repeats itself, we'll see an OG win here. But who knows with Virtus.pro and how they've been getting really a lot stronger, beating Big, beating Fnatic as we headed through this tournament. It also has to be said, OG has basically played Flashpoint 2 on hard mode, because by dropping into the loser's bracket in the first round in groups and in the first round of playoffs, they have had to play more matches than anyone else in this event. They have played the maximum amount of matches that you can play in Flashpoint, which is 4 in groups and 6 in playoffs. So they haven't made it easy for themselves. But Maui, tell me, what is it about this OG team, their tenacity, that is allowing them to reach another finals through the loser's bracket again?
They just don't die. Alexi B is the zombie king, and he keeps this team going every step of the way. It feels like they're feeding off the life force of other teams. When other teams make mistakes, they completely will capitalize on top of it, and they have the right blend of tactical ability and firepower. I feel like we don't talk about some of the players on this OG lineup enough. Issa's not having the best tournament, but sometimes when they need him to, he will come up with a crazy multi-frag round. He just did it to Fnatic in order to break them and send themselves to this grand final game. So I think that OG right now is hitting a sweet spot where Alexi B is calling out of his darn mind, Issa is fragging at a very high level, and Valde is looking like the best player in the entire tournament.
And you have to say, Valde and Alexi B have been absolutely spectacular for this OG lineup. You saw it in our consolidation final against Fnatic earlier today. It seems like there's nothing they can't do if they're in a 2v2, an even situation against the opponent. Have they impressed you, Thorin?
Yeah, I think at their roles, they've been far and away the best players in the tournament. I also think that's one area where I do get a little bit nervous for OG, aside from all the deficits they get into, is that if Valde and or Alexi B are the players in a 1v1, 2v2 type scenario, now I get confident they can win it. If it's some of the other names, a lot of that confidence drops away. So it's crucial that those players, I mean, they were able to do it on that CT side of Mirage against Fnatic, can position themselves so that they are the guys who are in those situations. Then all of a sudden, they start to look like a pretty complete team.
And the clutches have been absolutely phenomenal from this OG roster as well. You could say they almost didn't make it here in their match versus MIBR, coming back to seal it in 30 rounds on an eco. We've seen so many eco wins, but Thorin, you were saying earlier today, they can't rely on this. They've gotten by, they've scraped by the skin of their teeth too many times.
Yeah, and not least, by the way, because this is actually one of the few times where the James strategy of just saving all the time is going to make it really tough. Like, how are you ever going to know when he's got the AWP, where he is with it, etc.? So, like, I actually think the problem is what they did essentially to Fnatic. You know what? I won't shed any tears, because guess what? Fnatic did that to everyone else for the last, 5 years. So they were just able to produce miracles when they had half buys, when they had just, no armor, when they had very limited utility. Something about it, it's almost like a power spike. They would hit that mode and they just knew, right, the game's about to slip out of control. This isn't the round we're supposed to win, and they would just make the right moves. So the problem with that is a truly great Counter-Strike team, a championship team, wins the tournament off the gun rounds. They win when we both have 5v5 and we've got all of our weapons and all of our utility, and we're just better at you in the fundamental areas of the game. So at the moment, I think OG is actually a good team in that area, but they're not a great team. And that's where I could actually see, if they play it shrewdly, and even the economic approach of VP could potentially be a counter.
Maui, tell me about VP and compare them to OG and the situation that Thorin just presented. Has this been the measured Counter-Strike team, the conservative Counter-Strike team that you were talking about earlier in Flashpoint 2?
In ways, yeah. But they have just two sides, I'd say. I think Virtus.pro are just... You don't know every round, are you going to get the explosive rifling coming out from Yakinder or Buster, or are you going to be hit by that second punch, which is usually in the form of Jame, just clutching out rounds from thin air, it feels like. So this team has a lot of win conditions going into every single round, whether it is the aggressive rifling or the stable passive opping from Jame. And it feels like, I think that's what Virtus.pro's biggest strength is that you don't know round to round, what do we have to avoid? Do we have to avoid Jame? Because against Fnatic, once you're able to get away from JW in that last series, you were actually kind of cruising. It felt like Crims and Golden weren't really living up to their name or their potential, but it was JW who you had to fear on the map. For VP, every player is a weapon. Even though I kind of bagged on Sanji earlier, he too can show up in these major situations. And sometimes Sanji, he's solo on this B site with an MP9, but he pulls off just flush of multi-frags where he's able to just slow them down with utility, stay alive, find a couple of kills. And that's the player you're supposed to be targeting if you're OG. And yet he can still pop off in huge ways. Right now, I feel like Virtus.pro and OG, these are both the two most complete teams, and I think it's very deserved that they are both in the finals against each other.
And before we get into the map draft, which is about to happen imminently, Maui, I want to just bring up a point that you've mentioned before, which is that VP does have an unnerving ability to lose their own map pick. So how is that going to affect our draft? That's true. That's true.
I feel like for Virtus.pro going into this veto, I think you just, because in the last 6 BO3s that they've played, they've lost their map pick 5 times. So that is just it is unnerving. I don't even know what to exactly make of it, but I feel like sometimes there's too many cooks in the kitchen, perhaps, for VP, because Kicker was an IGL before, Jame is their current IGL, Yakinder watches a lot of demos too, and they have a coach. So there are 4 heads in this camp that are actually bringing ideas to the table and trying to brainstorm what the best game plan could be. And I don't know sometimes if they're going into their own map pick, if they know exactly which game plan that they really want to run with. So that's why you'll see all these conflating ideas round to round. It's why I've noticed that they have so many weapons, because I feel like they have different game plans round to round. It doesn't feel like there's a semblance of consistency, and it's something I praise them for, but it's a double-edged sword.
All right, let's head into our vetoes right now and have Thorin start guiding us through this. I do think we've got some pretty obvious first rounds of vetoes here, Thorin.
Yeah, and obviously it goes against the strengths here because you're not going to see that vertigo that they tried to pull out on Virtus.pro. It didn't work in the last couple of matches, but did earlier on because that's always the OG ban. And then the Virtus.pro ban is, of course, the Alexi B map of Nuke, the one where he had the overtime game against Cloud9. So those are pretty obvious to get out the way. But this is where I'm interested in actually in that strategy because one thing I like about OG is they just keep it simple. They pick Inferno or Mirage, depending on which one they prefer. In this particular case, maybe we'll see the Mirage again. Meanwhile, the guys from Virtus.pro, I think they've tried to get too cute with their veto. They've almost been trying to prove a point with what they can do. So I don't want to see them do anything silly at this point in time. Like, I'd like them, listen, the Dust 2 is right there. I didn't think OG looked that great in that series they won earlier on it. Like, I'd just go ahead and pick it. Just take your strength.
Yeah, I think Dust 2 would be a great pick for Virtus.pro. I feel like they've also been pretty clutch on Train as well. I think they know they can get Inferno as a decider anyway, so I wouldn't love to see them pick that there. I don't think they'll be going for Overpass, but let's see what they go with. I think D2 or Train have to be the pick here, and they'll go with Train. Okay, so that's a map that they've been incredibly good at lately, and OG has been a little rocky. They lost to Gen G in pretty bad fashion to kick off Flashpoint 2, in fact.
They did beat Gen G later, though. And
the
also,
key thing to point out, though...
Go ahead, Thorin.
Basically, the key thing at this point in time, though, is now OG, in theory, is forced to ban out probably Overpass at this point in time. Like, I don't really see in this... Like, they're going to have to leave it up, but I think, like, if you're the guys from VP, how could it go better for you? You can essentially get Dust 2 if you want it as the last map.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of reasons for them to go for D2. The thing is, with grand finals on the line, VP's perma first pick was Inferno for a long time, for pretty much the entire history of this roster coming into this tournament. So if they want to go with what they're most comfortable with, I would say Inferno. If they want to punish, I think they'll go with Dust 2. And it looks like they're going for what they're most comfortable with. So I like that. I don't think there was really a wrong answer here, but I will say that OG is just a little stronger on Inferno. So
yes.
it's a little bit more just playing into your strengths as opposed to your opponent's weaknesses.
Yeah, I think the real fear here is that this is one of the maps that OG was able to beat them on earlier on in the tournament, and more importantly, this is the map where all those Alexi B bedtime stories all come true. Like, that's where he just does the God mode T-side. So if anyone can handle, that's why I would love to see if we get to a third one. If anyone can handle the Yakinda J banana switch up, it's got to be Alexi B, the man who theory's reading the game. So I think Virtus.pro actually showed a little bit of conservative vetoing finally that we're at the big money match for all the marbles, because earlier in the tournament, I think they just go into their strength there.
Let's revisit the first match between these teams, because Virtus.pro won Mirage, OG won Inferno, and then OG won Dust 2. Perhaps that Dust 2 victory is why Virtus.pro doesn't want to play it. And if you're Virtus.pro, do you like the Mirage pick here, considering you've already taken the win against OG?
I'll say with a lot of tier 1 teams, you almost don't want to see the same maps again, because it always feels like the team that lost comes back in the rematch knowing what they did wrong. And everybody knows that you learn more from losing than you do from winning. So I think this could all flip around. I think VP might switch it up and they might win Inferno later. I think that OG might lose on Mirage. I mean, this is all sorts of whack. Rematches are so hard to predict because honestly, you just don't know how are people going to adapt from game 1 to game 2, but that's what makes them exciting. And that's usually why these matches end up being so close, because it's just these clashes of ideas against each other.
Now, we want to get into this map, Thorin, but I need to get your predictions first. So, Thorin, where, after seeing this draft, do you think this goes? Who will be the Flashpoint 2 champion?
Well, here's the thing. I will tell you straight up. I came in thinking it would be OG, but actually, if they'd have vetoed and made Dust 2 the decider, I was going to switch it up. I was going to do the surprise heel turn and join the VP Nation, but I'm definitely not, actually. I'm just going to say, fuck VP. Like, you'll know how I feel. I think they're overrated. I think OG shows them up now, 2-1.
That's pretty strong condemnation for somebody who's going to maybe predict them. All right, Maui, are you staying on the VP Nation hype train here?
It would just be criminal for me to switch now, right? I picked VP going into the tournament before day 1 even started. I thought that these EU teams wouldn't know how to handle the aggression that's coming out from them, the multiple weapons from this VP side. I've got to go with Virtus.pro. I've got to go with Yakinda.
All right, well, we're going to see. We've got a split prediction here. Bardolph and Hawka will be on the cast for our grand final. I'm eager to hear their predictions as well.
Thank you very much, Monty. I picked Fnatic at the beginning of the tournament to take it, but had it not been for Fnatic, I probably would have picked Virtus.pro. In this series, I'll pick Virtus.pro. I am a fanboy of this team. They play unique Counter-Strike, and I quite enjoy that. Hooker, where do you sit on this one?
I'll go with OG. I think they're solid enough just because Valda's been so good recently. I also love, James, how my head looks so much smaller than yours. Like, I know you have a bigger head than me, but that's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, your head is so much smaller than mine. My head is, I've got a big head.
Big head.
What can we... Well, that's a simple segue into the actual grand final, but why not? Virtus.pro will be starting on the CT side of Mirage. All USPs, nothing untoward there. Sometimes you see a CZ, but not today. OG with grenades on Alexi B, a P250 on Valde, and a run boost for NBK.
NBK getting aggressive early in the front line. Smoke going down onto short, but they're going to go through it, trying to split this B bomb site. NBK, that first man in, long-range headshot with the Glock, and now Buster is trapped in the B apartments. He's got to win this fight. He has to hold this ground, and he's not going to do so. Valda wins the key battle to keep his team in control of the round.
Bomb plant will guarantee some money. Only headshots required for Virtus.pro. Two-man on road as they move from the door. Crouch peek from Kiko won't be enough, and will be Mantu for that final kill. Last 2 kills for Mantu. Starters you mean to go on. He'll be an important player going forward on a nice open map like Mirage. That is the T-pistol taken by OG. Now we'll see what Virtus.pro choose to do. No money's been spent just yet. Virtus.pro, quite the team in terms of unexpected buys. They really have their abacus game on point. They'll make some serious calculations to squeeze out a buy that you might not expect, but it will be a flashbang and nothing else here from Virtus.pro. 5 players on the A bomb site. Buster playing from CT. See what OG's investigation game is like. They've got Alexi B. He can be the investigation man with this Mac 10. He's expendable.
He will be clearing out the underparts position, making sure that there is nothing too crazy going on the VP side of things. VP have stacked towards this B bomb site. So that's something that OG would like to avoid if possible. Alexi B continues on his excursion. $500,000 up for grabs, James. That is something that these VP players, at least some of them, have never experienced before. That's for sure. Especially players like Yakindar. He's a very new addition to this roster. Definitely curious to see how he holds up, especially on this Mirage game. That's the matchup I'm looking at. Yakindar versus Valda, because they both play the same position on CT side. They both play that connector position, which is so crucial on Mirage on the CT side. We've got Alexi B investigating. He's taken a lot of damage here, but he's got his team the information. They should get this A site.
KiNK's the only man around the A-bomb site at present, holding an off angle towards the jungle, but that flashbang is still in hand for Virtus.pro, so there's perhaps some more damage to be done. Very forward smoke grenade, not the one you normally see. There's a pop flash. Ether able to fall back. NBK's got angles, as does Mantu. Mantu 3 for 0 at present. He'll be important on this T side for OG. Now again, that was almost a complete eco for Virtus.pro. Only $200 invested, and James straight out for the AWP on round number 3. Love to see it.
Yeah, no Kevlar, of course. When you get this AWP in the 3rd round and you lost the pistol, he's had to invest all his money into that one sniper. We've got Sanji rocking the MP9 as well. Not many nades for VP in this round. They've really prioritized getting these early rifles out, but OG also have AKs on most of their players. So it's not like there's an advantage for VP in that sense, but the little utility they have, they're making the most of. The flashes into top mid, allow an early kill, but here comes Valda on the flank. Yakindar caught at mid, and the early mid control goes the way of OG.
Jamin covering his 6, but his 12 was the problem. Jamin Buster now, suddenly giving Virtus.pro a slight advantage. Sanji in an awkward position. Does he go out? Does he go up? It will be the latter. I don't know if Issa heard anything. Has he identified that anybody's there? There we go. No assumptions have been made, but Sanji swings out wide and wild with the MP9. That leaves Alexi B in a 1v3, picking up the bomb and an AK top mid. James still creeping with an off angle by jungle. And Sanji's made his way from Shadow back to CT spawn, so Virtus.pro will be careful. With a minute on the clock, Alexi B could still do some more damage here.
Uh-oh, Buster, gotta be careful, and he is. Close range, he could have got caught on the ladder, but he gets the timing right on the fight. And even though VP lose those initial duels towards mid, they actually come back to win the round. That is very impressive for VP there, considering the circumstances, considering how those early fights went. Especially as well, your Kindar died off early. He's normally the man who's been beasting at mid. The last time these teams played, he was coming out with all sorts of smokes, all sorts of plays around that mid position to hold it. But the rest of the VP players do their jobs wisely in that round. And now it's not a perfect buy for OG. They've got 3 AKs as well as a couple of pistols, and they're already all grouped up towards A for a quick set play.
A lot of flashbang support on the way. Jame will spot many players. Doesn't go for the re-peek. Smart stuff. Yakindar just watching a Palace push. Issa is lurking there with one of these Desert Eagles. Well, the Desert Eagle. And OG will slow things down. However, this is their push. It's not a double pump. They've used their grenades. But feeling like perhaps it is a suicide mission, they'll reconsider their options. Virtus.pro still with 500 HP. OG now with a flash. Or 2, and a Molotov. Now at this point they could go for a relatively dry entry into the B bomb site. Get close, molly by the van perhaps, or the bench position. Get those flashbangs in, and off they go. Lexi B will take the pistol, probably wide swing, and then maneuver his puppets around afterwards. The jump peeking from Sanji. He's got a smoke which he could put down by the van, between the van and the site. But he'll put a very timely one in the apps instead.
Here we go, Sanji spraying away, 2 kills with the MP9, and that should really seal this round. OG are going to be stuck in the apartments. Look at the rotation from VP as well. They've got 3 players ready and waiting on the B site, and the OG players took some damage as well. So they're already backing away, maybe seeing if they can save these guns. You don't get money for saving, remember, on the T side. So Issa would have $0, the same for Valda. And they need to make sure they don't die after time. That would be the worst case scenario. I think they should be safe in the positions they're holding. But now what will the call be for OG, James? They've got a couple of players with $2,000. We may see them just force up into this round, in all honesty. It wouldn't be a great buy, but with Issa and Valda having such little money, it's not an easy call to make here.
Yeah, I think it's possible. It's definitely possible. A few grenades, perhaps Tech 9s. To move around these weapons, and indeed it will be, well, LXCP will buy at least. Okay, there we go. Came in late. Some discussion to be had. As we saw from the desk, Sanji criminally underrated as per usual. The timing of that grenade to allow him to take space and then fall back onto the site, reset the situation and buy time for his rotation in case of a push from OG is awesome. Looks very simple in its delivery, but requires spatial awareness. A mind on the clock. Well then, OG have got 2 smokes, with which takes the map control. Bomb currently waiting top mid. No one heading underpass just yet. Maybe looking for another push from Virtus.pro. We did see one early. Valde hunting for Sanji. He's caught him repositioning, but Jame has the angle. Hoping maybe for a focus elsewhere, but Jame will hold on to the B bomb site for now.
No real movement from VP in response, but they are playing very passively on this A-bomb site. And if these nades are put in the right positions for OG, they could get this bomb down without any further kills needed. KiNK's playing towards CT, but a flash over the top will allow Mantu to start to get towards the site with that bomb. Alexi B will be the man waiting in connector, and Yakindar has to make sure he clears this angle. Fight's happening on the site, but Yakindar doesn't clear this position. It's a freebie for Alexi B, eventually getting the kill he was looking for, but Buster's able to trade it into a 2v2.
That would have been a nice rifle collected as well as position. Now, the ramp is going to be smoked, I do believe. Or something is. There we go. There's a smoke on the ramp to force them out. And there are great angles now for Virtus.pro. NBK swinging with the scout. He'll get picked up by Issa. That smoke gave them great position, but they weren't sure as to where OG was. Emerging through that smoke, timing works in their favor, and they take the lead over Virtus.pro, and they've put them in a real bad money situation.
Lovely stuff from MBK and Issa at the end there. They had to make sure they were on the same page on that play. They needed to push this together. Here was that first kill from Valda over at B. Then Issa got a couple of kills here, pushing behind MBK through the smoke. And the nice thing about that play is that it's not all that likely VP are going to be looking at ramp when they've just put the smoke down there. It's not 100% guaranteed that they're going to be looking that way. If anything, it's more likely they're probably looking somewhere else. So the fact that OG take a little risk and it pays off for them like that, that is really nice. Well played by Issa and MBK to make sure that they were working together on that one. And now it is OG back in the lead, at least for now.
Yeah, this is a potential swing round. Some grenades starting to disappear from the inventories of Virtus.pro due to lack of money. And we've got plenty of Galils out for OG as well. So it's tight across the board. James has the AWP with Kevlar. Headed towards A at first, but there's a big presence from OG towards mid. This could be a fast split of the B bomb site, potentially, although I'd imagine the bomb would be in the apartments if that were the case. So it'll just be a change of pace here from OG. In the middle of mid, but there's no challenge from Virtus.pro. You can see denial of information with that smoke towards top mid, and then indeed, split could potentially be done here. Now is Man2 brave enough to go through this? Doesn't know the situation towards ladder. So they will be thwarted somewhat, but will they bide their time? Their smoking and connect will be gone first, and we can just see they will replenish that so they don't get sandwiched by the CTs. But Buster will surely have to start moving back here.
Making sure to play a safer position. VP get aggressive over on A, though. They are aware of this. They're rotating players to the B-bomb site, and Buster's got the lineup. Only got one kill, though. Man2 trades him out. Missed shot from James. Allows the cross to the site to begin. And it's Sanji on the site itself. He's able to get one kill. James needs to get something going, but Valda emerges with 2 kills through the smoke. And even though KiNK pushed A to begin with and got all this information, he's the man that has to clutch.
Valde, his IQ seems to be unlimited in this game, and KiNK's just going to have the wrong angle, exposes his head to east side, and that's enough. See Valde creeping through the smoke on the short pillar. James saw that smoke about to pop and started focusing on the site, but we could see on the X-ray Valde just creeping through. Real important for his squad. That does indeed put Virtus.pro into eco territory. Looks like the start to the CT side will be bad for them. Lost a pistol, of course, and things don't get much better now. Another $200 eco round for Virtus.pro. Again, they'll start on the A bomb site with KiNK with a flashbang. OG may not go for the investigation they did last time, though. Moving towards the stack. They'll get some sound cues from those players in the shadow area. Heath will take care of one, and soon the other. So it seems danger will be mostly neutralized here. We've got a boost from James. Get a cheeky kill. That might be all she wrote.
Yeah, VP stacked the right side, but with 5 USPs, it's very unlikely you're going to get more than 1 or 2 kills. This round going about as you would expect in terms of the outcome. This was a map that these two teams played back in the group stage, and VP were able to win 10 CT rounds, mainly thanks to Yakindar being a real beast at mid. He was not allowing OG that mid control in a lot of the rounds, and that meant that OG had to kind of fall back, oftentimes into James Orp, and he would have a lot of impact. I think the instant difference in this game is that OG are getting mid control much more easily this time round, and you can see just how much of the map that opens up for them. How many plays Alexi B likes to run through that mid position. He's a very dynamic caller. He's very quick to react to some of the information that's given to him, and we're already seeing that come through in some of these rounds. It's a 5-2 lead for OG, and that's showing no signs of slowing down.
VP quickly back on A buy. We'll see how good it looks. $4,000 to $5,000 for most. So the rifles are on the way. 3 rounds in a row for OG, going from strength to strength this team. There's a timeout from Virtus.pro. It's Abacus time, trying to figure out what kind of round they want. Sanji's got 5k and Yakindar's got 4350, so I always look at things like that and think, is he going to drop and be given an MP9 so people can get more grenades or something? But no. He's got himself an AUG. A lot of people arguing that the AUG is a stronger weapon than the M4A4, but what's pretty interesting about some of these weapons in Counter-Strike at the moment is the difference can be in the implementation. Wide array of tools available. Much better than it used to be. Well then, again, a fast play from OG into the mid position. Quickly, they will smoke the window. We'll see if VP throw mollies there before they go through the crawl space in future rounds to try and thwart that. But for now, OG are neutralizing the AWP angles. and James has been neutralized, going for an aggressive play in B apartments, trying to get an advantage, perhaps to put more players towards A, but he's been denied.
You can definitely understand why James wants to go for that peak as well, because OG had 4 players on mid, and they were being loud and proud on that mid control. They were using a lot of their nades. I really like the emphasis on OG on this position as well. They're not allowing Yakindar to play inside that connector. They're forcing him to play back in a position where he has to make decisions. But because James saw so many players at mid, or knew that there were a lot of players taking mid, he thought he could maybe peek B and get a 1v1. He was right in that assessment. It's just that MBK landed a banging shot at range, and now MBK nearly has the chance for another, but he gets taken out by Buster.
45 seconds on the clock. How much risk-taking will there be for Virtus.pro? Sanji is in the apartments with the AWP, which is allowing Buster to rotate. So kind of what they may have been going for previously, get the AWP posted up and focus on the A bomb site. They'll do it late, and it could cause them some problems here. Yakindar's creeping. Oh, no, he's not creeping, actually. He's around the smoke, however. Oh, Sanji is aware of what could be happening here, holding down 2 jobs at the moment, but not aware of how many more players are on short. He'll surely start hearing things soon. 16 seconds, and his body's surely going to be showing to the left side of the pillar from his point of view, but OG are still not moving just yet. 8 seconds, and Mantu finally finds that frag. 3 on 3 now, and KiNK is still on the A bomb site, and it looks like he's going to be saving. Very awkward for Sanji. He didn't know if anybody was in the apartments, so he had to take a gamble, was exposed on the corner, and that frag from Mantu allows OG to plant the bomb in a very nervous situation for both teams.
Yeah, OG ran down the clock about as much as they could have there. And if there were a second CT on that B site, that could have been a completely different story. Maybe they get a kill on the cross and then drop the bomb, and just a few seconds more could have made all the difference. But Sanji was alone on that B site, and even though he got 1 kill, it wasn't good enough to buy enough time for the rotation. OG up to a 6-2 lead, coming out to a storming start here on Mirage. Virtus.pro will be able to save a couple of guns and a bit of money in the bank. There was that shot from MBK really quick on the initial kill. And oh, it's such a tight angle for Mantu. He spots a bit of the shoulder and he makes sure to line up that shot from range. Now, what is the call from VP in this round? It looks like they will be buying off the back of those saved weapons. That means we won't get the AWP for James. We will have an MP9 on Sanji as well, but it's still a reasonable buy for them.
Yeah. That's what I was wondering about in the previous round, but the money was better for Virtus.pro. No stranger to an MP9 on the B bomb site is Sanji. Not a big deal for him. Limited grenades here for VP. No flashes at this point. We've seen in the previous round they've been trying to proactively find a hole in OG's formation. If they're concentrating players in mid, then they'll be weaker elsewhere. Classic strat to get that AWP posted up in B apartments on that occasion didn't work out for them. But for now, they may feel like they have to be somewhat at the mercy of OG. Again, no AWP really makes a hell of a difference. Sanji still just jump peeking towards the B bomb site. Buster and James with some focus towards mid. But as we can see, after their presence, OG will head towards A.
OG have used 4 of their smokes here on that early mid control, but it's not going to be as big a deal in this round because there's such little counter utility from VP. They're already somewhat limited heading into this round, so there aren't any mollies or flashes left, and that means that this contact play has a much higher chance of being successful. There are a couple of VP players already in position. Yakindar this time anchoring the A site, not his normal position, but KiNK's there to help him out. And KiNK almost gets a second, but it's Alexi B with 2 headshots from mid. And now Yakindar could be in trouble. He strikes from the site, but he's instantly traded.
14 seconds, and the bomb gets planted, and James is surrounded by flame, which leaves Sanji as the last man to fall, coming in from that B bomb site, still with the MP9. 7-2 for OG, dismantling Virtus.pro 1 round at a time. And I was going to say this could be another 3-1. Money's tight. We can see Buster with 3,500, but Virtus.pro are going to concentrate their efforts in certain directions, as you'll see very shortly. Alexi B's frag in connector. The first one was very important. So we've got the 2 AWPs out. Again, light on grenades Virtus.pro. Very good at squeezing buys out, however. A 2-1-2 to start from VP. Can this second sniper make a difference?
I actually like your KiNK getting the AWP here. I don't like the missed shot though, but Buster's there again on the help. Those two have been working well together on this mid control. Buster always seeming to catch players looking the other direction. And the reason I like your KiNK getting this AWP out is because I feel like he's not been able to really play his playstyle so far. He's not been as active as he would like. So the AWP can be a really nice switch up to get some early fights. And now James getting involved on the action. He was just boosted up towards short. That's a shot from Valda and one from Issa. Just like that, OG bring it back to even numbers.
Free kill for OG. Got to be real careful about those rotations. Alexi creeping out the smoke now, maybe inspired by Valde. They're going from either side. Alexi and Issa making their way, more headshots being delivered. KiNK now trying to stay alive, and it's Sanji. They know he's the B player. Bomb's got to be collected though. Up the stairs you go, Issa. Maybe he opts over from Tetris. The awkward position of that bomb's going to buy some time for Sanji to make his way over as well. We can see him by jungle now. Does he continue to pursue, however? He doesn't know that Issa doesn't have the bomb. So Issa could be rotating to the B bomb site. But now we've got some sound cues, 28 seconds on the clock. Does Sanji dare peek? He doesn't know what Issa's up to just yet, but the FAMAS will be enough. Edges the round for his team. Picks up the AWP as well. Problem is, he's the only person who survived, Hawker. So what does that mean for their money?
Yeah, it's not looking great on the money side of things. Sanji can buy another rifle. Might drop that to a teammate as well. Indeed, he gets an MP9 in reply. Important round for Sanji to win for his team. At least they have got that AWP, as you pointed out, but a couple of weaknesses in there. FAMAS is in play. They need to make sure they win this next round, otherwise OG could instantly bring it back. And Alexi B has a MAC 10 in this round. We could see him taking the point for his team, as all the OG players are stacked on the B side of the map to begin with.
Have a look at the start from Virtus.pro though. They put 3 players straight into the B bomb site, so they have the potential for a boost later on. James very deep on A ramp. Might be R-esque setup over there, but in the meantime, Alexi B is trying to get that information. Sanji creeping around the smoke, but he will be killed by Mantu, who gets a multi-frag. Your KiNK are in the smoke now.
Oh no!
Oh dear. God knows what happened there, but that has not worked out well at all for Virtus.pro. Had 3 players on B, but it seems it was anarchy around the smokes, at least from their point of view. For OG, though, they've got 4 players alive, and they're straight back to winning ways on the scoreboard.
It almost looked like Sanji may have purposefully left a gap in the smoke that he underhanded to get that kill on the edge of it with the MP9, which worked out quite nicely as a little trick play. I don't think OG were that ready for the initial kill to go against them, but then just the strength of that execute onto the B site was too much for VP to deal with. They weren't sure whether or not they wanted to fight aggressively. They weren't sure really how to react to those smokes coming in. You see your KiNK in particular, not someone who's normally playing on that B side of the map, so he wasn't really sure how he needed to play that round, whether he wanted to go through the smoke or not. Might have taken him a bit too long to react. We'll see the replay. There was Mantu eventually spotting Sanji on the edge of the smoke, and fortunately for your KiNK, his teammates die so quickly on the site, he ends up walking into, wow, his own molly. It looked like he threw it into the apartments, but it may have just trickled down onto the site. Because I think there was a tiny bit of the molly in the corner.
Very unfortunate. So again, we're seeing more ropey buys from Virtus.pro. Utility's increasing though, despite the mixed situation with the weapons. And again, there'll be 3 towards the B bomb site. This time, James will be looking to get boosted on short, I think. Buster will be heard rotating away. Who's in the underpass? Well, he's got your KiNK to help him fall back. As we can see, OG have changed the pace again. Everyone being very careful now. Bomb collected in T-spawn, with Issa lurking in Palace. Just being very careful of aggression. They know that VP need to find themselves an advantage the way these rounds have been going. OG are looking for that play, but it's not coming in this round just yet.
Oh, a run boost to mid might not be the best. This is a pretty good angle to deal with this. Gives Jame a chance. He's not able to pull the trigger, but he gets the kill eventually. MBK, the man taken out of the round. Good patience from Jame to take his time to get that early kill. 42 seconds remaining for OG. They've got the mid control they wanted, and now they're going to start to use these smokes. Last time they did these smokes, they used them to split the B site, but this time they're going to creep into connector, try and be unpredictable, and perhaps go through that smoke towards the A site.
Jame might, Yakinda might have an angle on them. Here he is with the Orc. He's halfway there now. Alexi B behind that smoke. And Sanji's trying to flank from connector, from short rather, but that won't happen. 2 versus 4 with 17 seconds on the clock. Maybe it's about trying to make it expensive for Virtus.pro, though. OG will retreat. Virtus.pro could do with, well, Buster could do with picking up a weapon. He will get an AK-47 for his troubles. For surviving, there's a sigh of relief for Virtus.pro. They make it to 4.
So OG's aim in that round was to use the window and back connector smoke, this time to go into the A site. They really like using those 2 smokes on some different plays. Sometimes they'll use those smokes to go up through B short and to split the B site. Sometimes they'll just throw some flashes over the top of connector to move into A. I think you could see that VP were pretty well prepared for that though, because the position Yakinda was playing specifically was one that didn't seem to get blinded by those flashes. It is quite a common play for OG that they like to do that, and it looked like VP were one step ahead of that round. They get a 4th on the board, and now we're getting some of those smoke shenanigans from Yakinda, but he's burning. He's down to 33 health, just about getting away.
Look at a rotation on the radar from Virtus.pro. I believe James in the underpass once again. With no sound cues, they'll head towards the A bomb site. Now, who's going to peek first? It will be James to get a better of Alexi B. He's commonly lurking in connector. That could give VP some more confidence now as Issa starts to swing towards Shadow. Got 2 players around connector jungle, Yakinda and Jame. Positions held on default as well. A pop flash for a potential swing, but KiNK will wait for a second flashbang. Bot 2, and there's a transfer onto Tetris. NBK and Man2 left. Man2 still stuck in Palace. 1 minute on the clock, 2 versus 4. If they fall back and hide for a while and don't show the bomb, then maybe the CT start to rotate towards the B bomb site. Some more presence for Man2 to have a look. Does Jame dare go for the dry peek? Well, his timing's worked out for him. Off angle now. 40 seconds, and Man2 somehow still gets that kill. Maybe Jame visualizing from the other side, and perhaps there's a chance for OG.
Yakinda is on the flank, so OG have got to make sure this is a fast move into the A site. They need these early kills, and I think from VP's perspective, they can just sit back and play patiently now. They know Yakinda has this locked in from behind, so they're just going to survive, wait for Yakinda to pull the trigger, and it's a freebie. Easy spray from the back, and Buster is able to peek while Man2 is not ready for it. Well played by VP, realizing the situation, making sure they just needed to stay alive, and in those early proceedings as well, if Yakinda's not going to have as much impact fragging-wise, then I want to see him getting more flash assists like in that round. He threw those 2 flashes for Kicker, set Kicker up for success on the spray down. That's what you got to do. If you're not having a good game, sometimes you've just got to set up your teammates.
Absolutely, and playing in that default spot, you're already going to need some help for your teammates if you don't want to go 1-for-1 at best. Oh, James sees an elbow. Not the bomb carrier though. Swing and a miss. A pistol round for OG. We saw how good they could be versus the likes of MIBR, but I don't expect that to be the case here. Alexi B just walking through the smoke once again, but KiNK has a superior angle. There's that common CT smoke. Jame will call that one is towards the van. Sanji watching the angle. Jame watching the drop. Buster doesn't want to go towards the windows because he could just get shot straight in the head, so he'll have an off angle. Positions are good for Virtus.pro as Man2 tries to do some damage, but there won't be any in this round as we move into the dying round of the last half. First half. The last round of the first half. There we go. English.
Got there eventually.
Words.
Yeah, I love how VP are approaching, especially that round there, because Alexi B loves to try and spearhead those plays on some window boosts and on some sneaky plays through connector. So I think that the best way to deal with that is just play really safe around mid and just wait for Alexi B to walk into a position where he's exposed from a couple of angles. Because in that position, Alexi B just doesn't clear the right one, and the rifle's able to get the kill up close. So really nice from VP. It definitely looks like they have done their homework, and even though they got that slow start in this game, they brought it right back. They've got 6 rounds on the board. If they get 7, they will be pretty content with this first half, I think.
They've got their best buy in this last round. Double AWP, AUG, AK-47 for your KiNK. So James on about 10 kills. I say about because we've got this round to play in the first half. We'll see how Mantu compares once the CT sides change, but they have parity at present. Mantu with some outrageous frags, AWP versus AWP, with James already scoped in. Definitely helped his team with the impact kills. That was KiNK T-ramp with an AWP. And again, OG creeping around the smoke grenades in connector. This has been a habit of theirs. They've got away with murder. 4 versus 3 for OG, streaming into the A bomb site, but Mantu still here. Normally they're just looking for Alexi B, but this time there was a second player here. That makes things real hard for Virtus.pro with James and KiNK remaining.
KiNK having a look. OG not giving him any chances though. Playing super safe right now, as you should in this position. There is a chance to isolate this first fight. KiNK spots the man stuck at under Palace. That name will go soaring on through, but unfortunately, there's no damage done before that. And oh, James got this kill at mid. Nice with the CZ. Molly coming through, forces the player into the open, but KiNK loses the fight, and Valda closes it out with a clean headshot. 9 rounds at the half for OG. Still fairly close. VP are still in contention on this first map. It's definitely heating up to look like a good grand final, but we'll have to find out who's going to win this first map after the break. It's looking good for OG right now, but there is still plenty of Counter-Strike to be played here in this grand final. 9-6 in favor of OG at the half. They would love to win this pistol to really put their mark on their map pick. And there's going to be Alexi B picking up the kit and the smoke, while VP also have some utility. They've already used some smokes into that A site.
Straight in they go. There's the flashbang, easily avoided by Valde. Irusu with some headshots. Looking to stay alive now. This does not look good for Virtus.pro, and now they can't see anything because they're all dead. That was a that's one of the fastest pistol rounds I can recall. I don't know how many of these helmet players, armor players took damage, but that was they just turned the lights off.
Yeah, 20 seconds is all it took. VP had the smokes lined up for the jungle and stairs position, but OG had so many players actually on the site that the nades weren't really able to be used in the right places to get them onto the site itself. Good shutdown from OG, working it together wisely in that one. And now VP have 5 Glocks in this round. This should never be a round that they win, especially in the final, OG. You can't let a round like this slip.
This reminded me of the... did you see the Glock round yesterday? The 4 Glocks.
Oh, yes. Oh, God.
Man. Well, good run for a young team. But anyway. This round may take a while, which if you look at it on paper, you wouldn't think it would, but again, the economy is so important in Counter-Strike. You want them to use as much utility as possible. Just get them to spend everything, and then find a way to get a kill if you can. They can't this time, but at least they made them spend some money on grenades. And who knows, that may lead to shortcomings later, which maybe help you win a round. So you could give nothing away for free in Counter-Strike. You would only be doing yourself a disservice.
Very important round coming up for Virtus.pro. If they want a chance here on Mirage, they should really be relying on winning this round. Otherwise, it is going to be a long way back for them. And it's not like OG have upgraded all their weapons. They've only got 2 premium rifles on the CT side. They've only got those 2 M4s to work with. So there is a good chance here that VP can win this round. Definitely got my eyes on Valder in this half. Playing in this connector position, he's been so good for them in this tournament. If you can lock down mid from connector, you can just win the half for your team straight up.
So OG tried to throw an incendiary towards window in case of a fast smoke, like we referenced in the first half, but not only was there no smoke, but the incendiary went the wrong way, so they couldn't even go through the crawl space. And Lexi had to just stand in CT spawn and wait for that molly to go. No harm done, however. Sanji lined up towards top mid. Can smoke top connector from there and pop flash it as well. Kindar creeping bottom connector, and there is the smoke, which wasn't thrown by him. Other places you can throw it from. Virtus.pro poking the A bomb site. The bomb, I'm not sure if it's been seen just yet. James has taken some damage. Could have been a grenade there, but he's on A ramp with the bomb, and the kills are coming through from VP now. Finally getting paid off from Palace and such, but they're still in the choke points, and the man advantage is back for OG. With Kindar getting dropped by Mantu. Alexi, oh my god. That was fun to watch in the X-Ray, but they're both still alive for VP.
Both low on the VP side, though, and James is trapped on the site itself right now. Take a look at the minimap, though. KiNK's going for a big flank, so James is just going to have to stay alive as long as possible and set up KiNK for success. It looks like someone's ready, though. Mantu clearing out mid. Heads-up play from him, and now James is left in an almost unwinnable position. A couple of the players are low, but in comes Alexi B. No chance for James in the clutch. OG doing great work right now on Mirage. That is a 12-6 lead. That is a round where they didn't even have full rifles, and they still won it quite comfortably.
Indeed they did. Virtus.pro have lost both pistol rounds, and they have not been able to break OG afterwards, which does not bode well for them. Seems the second half will start for them at a 6-12 deficit. Half the score of their opponents. Again, it can be, when that scoreline is 6-9, it can really be, I mean, there's so much potential there for both squads. But if one team sweeps, then the game can change dramatically. I'm sure VP feel the pressure now. Already light on grenades here in round number 19. They've got possession. Ooh, well, now they've got possession of mid. It's got to change from possession to position, but I suppose it's both now. Ladder room being taken is very important. A minute 20 on the clock is pretty good as well. OG, though, have got a lot of grenades left, which could be handy for utility, for denial of area, and so on. However, that's proving to be difficult with KiNK creeping into jungle.
That's more like the Kindar we like to see as well. His aim can be so sharp, and this boost could be spotted by Kindar. Oh, it's close, but he can't see over the top of this smoke. Once this fades, though, will OG clear this angle? Well, now he knows. He's trying to spray through, but they've already backed away. Good boost from Valda to get a kill towards mid, onto the unsuspecting Jame. And with 47 seconds left on the clock, VP still yet to get the bomb in their hands, and they're falling. One by one, they're falling onto the A site. It's a 2v4 for them, and they don't really have many options at this point. Sanji's going to get the bomb back, and he's going to try and see if he can bring it to A, but it's all about landing some shots here for VP.
Look how wide Yakindar's going. Valde must have heard a sound cue there. He had to be fast there, Yakindar. He knows it's possible that he gets pinched from the back in that short position. 19 seconds on the clock, and you have to wonder where he's headed. Well, maybe his destination's just changed as Sanji's been dropped with the bomb on ramp, and I think he's got to slink away and find a place to hide now, Yakindar. Look for some shelter, as there's not much more for him to do. OG with 4 players alive and 3 AK-47s. Valde upgrading to the AWP. They're in a very strong position to close this one out quickly.
Yeah, it just looked like VP got completely lost in the mid-round there to me. It looked like there was never a decisive call made as to what everyone's doing as a team. A couple of players pushed the A site, trying to awkwardly trade each other, but the timing wasn't great on these fights. Issa wins the first one. Alexi B can just hold Palace, safe in the knowledge that his teammate was locking down the other position. A bit too easy for OG in some of those fights. And with a 13-6 lead, it might end up being a very one-sided first map of this final. Sanji may have something to say about that, though. He's got the hero AK, and he's got the early kill.
Well, that was very, very needed for VP. There's a chance they could even collect that rifle a little later on. As we can see, with only one, that would be really important. But for now, Yakindar's just holding position in case anybody goes up short. But OG are playing deep on the bomb sites. The third man's rotated towards B, which is man 2. We've got Issa creeping around as well. James got good range on a Tech 9 if he can land a headshot. NBK being very, very careful. Support from Alexi B. Got a HE flying through. And Jane will back off. 4 HP. Just him being alive certainly helps. And again, these connector pushes will work for both teams now through these smokes. Yakindar takes the rifle, takes an angle. And Issa never saw that one coming.
Nice kill from Yakindar. A slight off angle, which is enough to net him a kill onto the A site. And VP this time are grouped up. They can follow through onto this. Alexi B trying to jump for information. MBK arriving with a headshot. And Alexi is still jumping on the spot. Yakindar finally hears it, and he gets the headshot through the smoke. Lovely triple kill from Yakindar. He's feeling it right now. He just wide swings onto Mantu, who will duly shut him down. But it's great to see Yakindar getting some of his confidence back and just taking fights in that position.
Yeah, really is. Let's not forget how urgent that first kill was here for Virtus.pro. Question is that something they can replicate? Where can they find continued success on their T side, as OG did in the first half? Well, the money, there's going to be some money for OG. Alexi B's already got 9k and NBK 7,300, so there's no eco round coming just yet. No breathing room for Virtus.pro. 6 rounds behind OG. So it'll be the 5 AKs here for Virtus.pro in round 21. And I do wonder if that indicates a faster play rather than looking for an opening for Jame on his T side.
I wouldn't mind a faster play here. I think VP have been a little bit slow at the start of this half. Not that that's a bad thing. It worked for them in that last round, but I think a bit of quicker aggression could put some pressure on OG, who might start to feel this game slip away from them if they lose this round, because their money is starting to falter. Kicker, close in connector, surely spots the shoulder, but Alexi B is not giving him anything to look at except for that shoulder, so there's no chance of the kill. Now a smoke goes down defensively from OG to hold that position, and any attempted early aggression from VP will be slowed down by the counter nades.
You can see as Mantu is posted up, look at the rotation from OG. This is what Virtus.pro failed to do on their CT side when they tried to activate this with Jame and he got popped and Sanji had to pick up the mantle. 3 men on the A bomb site with the AWP and B apartments. Buster's slowly creeping through B app, so we'll see if that combines. He's actually heading towards the stairs. He will be aware, though, of the angle to dodge. Kika, in the meantime, will be top mid. He's got some flashes for his teammates if required towards connector. 42 seconds. Will this be a split of the B bomb site?
It's looking like it. Mantu still posted in the apartments. No one with eyes on short right now, but Mantu will go back to get the first and the second kill. Mantu putting in a shift from this position. Finally misses his chance, but he won't miss again. 3 kills from Mantu on the B-bomb site, and he's got a 4th! Mantu going massive on the B hold. How does he get that shot while jumping up? There is nothing that VP can do against that.
I can't believe they barely even broke ground on the B bomb site. That performance from Mantu was fantastic. If you back up to the barrel by the van, and you're in the corner between the van and the barrel, if you crouch jump backwards, you can land on the van instantly, which can be good for a nice peek. Mantu absolutely savaging them. I like how he uses the unscoped speed to have a quick look, see what's going on around him. Same as we see from the likes of JW and so on. But again, Virtus.pro decimated round after round. Barely tasted success in this half, just the 1 round so far. And OG are only 2 away from taking Mirage, so they've got to get their skates on, got to get their act together quickly, Virtus.pro. Otherwise, this will be gone.
Well, here comes Yakinda. Quick play at mid, and Valder is not ready for it. Jame over at the B apartments taking a lot of damage, down to 22 health from those 2 nades. But VP still have the clean man advantage. And look at the mini-map. Yakinda is a man, but this could work beautifully for him.
Yeah, it really could. OG backing off, actually. I wonder if they consider it compromised the market position based on where they're standing. Oh, they're lining up for Yakinda as well. He won't fight to the death, though. His position is pretty important. He needs his teammates to come through as well. Misses the long spray. NBK won't. Sending some bullets towards the window, and maybe the B-bomb site will be taken after all in its entirety. NBK creating some space for himself. Sees the back of Buster's gun. Heading towards default now, but Buster's pretty damn fast on that trigger. So it's not over just yet for Virtus.pro. Almost this entire half, they've had half the scoreline. 6-12, 7-14. They'll change it once again, but for how long?
Even if Yakinda doesn't get those kills, he does 90 damage to both of those players on the B site. So it's a lot easier for VP to entry at that point. Only 1 shot needed on either player. And when you've got the M4, even if you dink someone, you can just be taken down with a body shot. Mantu holding with the AWP. I assume it will be 1 shot and then run away. And that will be exactly the call from Mantu. He will save the AWP, taking out 1 player with him. As you said, though, 14-8, still a long way to go for VP, but they're showing some signs of life.
But is Dr. OG about to twist their oxygen tubes? They're only through a few breaths from the body bag Virtus.pro. So many rounds just to tie the score with OG. And it has looked bleak for the most part here on Mirage. Maybe a slow start from Virtus.pro, but better start running hot now. Another fast frag in the mid position for VP. Alexi B committing to a peek there. Down goes NBK as well. Momentum seems to be changing for Virtus.pro. I think James trying to do 2 things at once there in different directions, but he's not Dr. Manhattan.
That's the Jame I like to see. Getting aggressive, getting entries early in the round. Obviously, that first one onto Alexi was fairly standard. Alexi just got mollied into the open, but then after getting that kill, maybe he grows in confidence slightly. He takes that fight against MBK, wins another opening duel for his team. And now OG have to do something here in the 3v5. You would assume sitting back in this default setup would almost certainly lose them the round. And you can already see that they have decided to call for a stack. Unfortunately, it's at just the wrong time. They've rotated away from A in an attempt to stack the right site. Unfortunately, though, Alexi B is not the Oracle this time round. He calls for the B stack, and that means that VP will be able to stack A and get this round easily. At least OG will have the chance to save their guns, though.
Yeah, they can certainly put some decorations around these weapons in the next round. Virtus.pro inching towards double figures. I feel like if they can make it to 10 with OG still on 14, there's like a psychological thing there which maybe plays in the minds of OG. I think they can be susceptible to that on occasion. When things get close and they should win. But will we? 2 M4s and an AWP. Again, we saw OG with better success going for aggressive plays when needed. So if they're not able to get good stuff around these and they've got to try and make up for those shortcomings, then watch out for Mantu. 23 for 10 at the moment. Wanted to see both snipers on their respective CT sides, and I feel like Mantu's certainly having a lot more success. Of course, there was that 4K in one round, which definitely is a big part of the tally, but position as well as delivery, both important.
That second shot from James was sublime. Getting aggressive onto short, there wasn't much of a timing window to work with. VP now starting to run some of these faster plays. They've got the picks at mid in the previous round. This time, though, they're all grouping up towards A. Early smokes into the site, and OG only have one man on the site itself right now.
Streaming in, lining up for Issa, but he can't find either. We've got smokes all over the shop now as OG are forced out of the site. It'll be retake territory for them. They've got 2 smokes, diffuse kits and flashbangs. Mantu, of course, with the AWP as well, if they can get him into position. Currently in mid, looking for a lurker. You can see that James doing the same, having a look towards the ramp. Bomb still needs to be planted, though. And those smokes will soon be gone, so things may become more difficult. You can see a smoke towards Connector, but Electric B's ahead of that, not for long, however. Now there is position for Virtus.pro to the wrong side of that smoke in Connector, and only Valde in CT.
Very important headshot from Sanji there. The desk was talking about his headshot accuracy. At times, he can get quick kills in important situations, and that's one of them. They needed that kill to get the bomb down safely. If they were to fall there, that connector smoke wouldn't last long, and then they'd have a real rough time getting that bomb down. But as soon as they get that kill, OG instantly realize they have to back away. They'd rather save to fight another day.
I honestly do wonder now if in the backs of their minds they start to get a little nervous, knowing what Virtus.pro are capable of. They've won many a scrappy game of late Virtus.pro. And it could end up being that way. It's certainly possible. 3 rounds in a row, 4 from the last 5 for Virtus.pro, all by detonation. OG been backing off repeatedly. And they will take a timeout, OG.
Only one timeout left after this as well. If this gets a close game, if it goes to overtime, for example, that could be a concern. OG still very much the favourites, but VP have won the last 3 rounds in a row, and they've looked pretty good while doing so. Even with those save guns, it looks like OG will just be saving on their other players. If they all save here, they should be able to buy into the next. Maybe Issa is the one man who's a bit more contentious on that front, but everyone else will be good to go. And obviously, VP have everything they could want ahead of round 25. I do like that OG took the time out there. I think it was needed. But we get back into the action with VP looking to continue that win streak.
Here's some aggression from OG. Flashbang forces away. Any peeking tease. MBK quick jiggle ahead of it going off. Looking for that information. We've got some map control being shown, being taken by Virtus.pro in mid. With 2 players towards T-ramp, that would suggest an ultimate A play, especially with the bomb basically being in that direction, although it could still be rotated away by James, who's being very, very patient. And I do wonder if he'll be served something soon, because I can see MBK edging forward towards the ramp, but he won't outstay his welcome there. Awkward for Issa now by default. And if OG wanted to rotate towards a B or something, he wouldn't be able to. However, Mantu's also pushing B with the AWP. I was calling that out earlier on, so Virtus.pro are going to get sandwiched. That buys some time. They're in a lot of trouble here, I think, unless they get some kills quickly.
And Kicker has provided one. Early kill from him. Alexi B sneaking behind the smoke. Valdo with one of his own, and Issa gets one while blind. Sanji has to try and fight back, and he's done so successfully, but it's still a man advantage for OG on this A site. And in comes Mantu with the AWP. Is he ready for this close angle? It looks like it. He's going to clear it. He's going to get the kill, and it's all on James. This man has been clutching with the AWP all tournament long, but with 30 seconds left in a 1v3, what the hell can he do here?
Well, James can do a lot. He's not too far from this bomb site, that's for sure. And again, that bomb's not been seen this entire time. He's been standing on a ramp with it. which is why Valde goes towards the B bomb site. Now, which angle does he check? Not the right one. Can't spin around fast enough. That blind kill from Issa changed everything for OG, and it puts them on game point. Again, OG just very good at being aggressive, finding the right ways to be aggressive when they need to on that CT side. Mantu flanking through B halls of the AWP. Aggressive positions on ramp as well, but not overextending. Just closing the net on OG. On Virtus.pro rather. And now they've got themselves a bunch of game points in the bag. A full buy though from Virtus.pro. But again, they need 5 from 5 now. And the aggression keeps coming from OG.
It's not that common you see Valde getting this aggressive early in a round. Normally he's the man in the back lines trying to close out the rounds for them, and the flash is on point. Valde gets himself out of there with a frag on top. Mantu's going to push all the way into the B apartments as well. He's been doing this quite often for his team, and it's so nice to get this information.
Yeah, liberties are being taken now by OG, playing a very confident game. It's the kind of Mirage you love to see. Spotting one player jumping over. Now, he doesn't know if the pixel gap is potentially being held by a sniper. Indeed, I think it was going to before he put that smoke up. That forces Virtus.pro. Oh, they seem to be reacting to that. Defensive position from James. So we've got 2 players tied up in B, which leaves only 2 players for Virtus.pro to try and make inroads, try and find an opening or something somewhere. But Valde, again, just too much IQ, too much game sense for the man. Make it even worse for Virtus.pro.
Oh, Valde almost getting another one. He's already got 2 on the round. He may get the chance for more because James is going aggressive with the AWP. Buster's got a kill. It's back to a 3 versus 4, and James is still going here. He's got the shot he was looking for. Valde getting caught in the open, and now it's up to Alexi B. The IGL, the Oracle for the team, gets the first kill. He's dropped the bomb, and he may have the chance, but it's MBK who arrives, and Alexi B is gonna get the final kill. 16-10 for OG. They win their map pick, and they do so in style.
Definitely looks like the stronger team on Mirage from start to finish. OG put their stamp all over that map on both sides of it. An outstanding performance from Mantu, of course, culminating in that 4K on the B bomb site. Absolutely outrageous hold from him. Well, Virtus.pro have it all to do now. OG winning their pick, which is always nice to see. Man, what a crazy start to things here. There's a lot more CS to come as well. Hopefully 3 maps. We'll see if Virtus.pro can win their own map pick after the break.